In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step instructions on how to replace the screen on the iPhone 12 mini. Begin by powering down the device if you can, then remove the two pentalobe screws from the bottom of the phone. The adhesive on the iPhone 12 series is notoriously tough, so the easiest way to remove the screen on these is to take a razor blade, starting from the bottom, insert it between the edge of the screen and the edge of the chassis, then pry upwards, add a couple of drops of isopropyl alcohol, and pop the screen off from the bottom. Once you've managed to pop it out a little bit, you can get a plastic guitar pick like this one and begin lifting the screen away from the chassis. If you find that it gets tough at any point, add another couple of drops of isopropyl alcohol just to ease it along. Repeat the same thing on the opposite edge, adding alcohol where required. Then for the top edge, wiggle the screen from side to side to create a gap for the pick again, and pop the screen open. And these open like opening a book from the front cover. Once you're into the phone, there's one tri-wing screw holding down this shield for the screen and battery connector. Remove it with the tri-wing screwdriver, then lift the shield with some tweezers. Use a plastic spudger to disconnect the battery, followed by the screen connector. Moving up the phone now, there are 5 more tri-wing screws to remove for this shield at the top. This holds down the connector for the front sensor, and we need to disconnect that before we can remove the screen. Don't forget, if you like repair content just like this, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Once those screws are out of the way, we can take the tweezers again and lift up the shield, then using the plastic spudger, disconnect this flex cable just here. That means that the screen's freed now, and we can move that to one side whilst we prepare the chassis for the installation of our new screen. We need to remove the adhesive that's stuck to the edge of the chassis so that we can apply a fresh dust and moisture resistant seal. And the easiest way to do that is using one of these number 4 X-Acto blades. Just run it along the edge of the chassis to remove it. Always be careful when you're working around batteries and other delicate components, because it is very easy to slip and cause damage to those. Once all that adhesive is removed, we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol and just remove the rest of the dust and grime that's left behind. As you can see, this one is particularly dirty, so I'm going to make sure I take my time and make sure that this is really clean. With that cleaned up the best that we can now, we're going to take the dust and moisture resistant seal, drop it into place in the top left corner, line it up along this left hand edge, and then it should drop perfectly into place around the rest of the edges. Take the plastic spudger and just make sure that it's stuck down securely, so that when we remove the other parts of the peel, it doesn't come away. There are a few layers to these, and I'm going to remove the first one, and it looks like I'm removing the second one at the same time too. And now this chassis is ready to install our new screen onto. Before we install our new screen, we need to remove this ear speaker and front sensor array from the back of the old display. Failure to do this will render Face ID obsolete, because it does house the proximity sensor. There's 2 crosshead screws and 2 tri-wing screws holding it down. Remove the 4 screws, then use tweezers to fold back the ear speaker, and then at this point I recommend using some heat with something like a hairdryer or heat gun to soften the adhesive underneath these 2 sensors here. Apply heat for about 30 seconds to soften it up, and then using your tweezers you can lift up these sensors to pop them out at the back of the screen. Once the sensor is removed, this screen is ready to throw in the bin, and we can get our new screen out and go ahead and install that flex cable onto the back of this. It's just a case of reversing the steps you've just taken, minus the heat, because this should stick down. I always line up the microphone first, followed by the proximity sensor, Make sure that that sits into its little housing, and that means that the ambient light sensor at the top should line up real nicely now. With that in place, we can brush off some of this dust because this is filthy. Then fold over the ear speaker, and I'm just holding it in place with my thumb whilst I get the first of the 4 screws in place. Just remember that the 2 crosshead screws go on the right side of it and the 2 tri-wings on the left edge. The smallest of the 2 being the one for the top left corner. A bit more brushing because it's still a bit dusty. And this is ready to install. So we bring the chassis back over and then start by offering up the connector up to its FPC. Then once it's in line, apply a little bit of pressure with your thumb or your finger to ensure that it's stuck down right. Moving back up to the top of the screen, we're going to realign this connector using our finger and a thumb, and then secure it down, making sure that it sits nice and tight. Then we'll install the shield and the 5 tri-wing screws that hold that one down. I just wanted to say thanks for all the feedback that we get on the recent videos. We're really trying hard to push out a catalogue of all repairs that we offer so that you can have a go at them. So keep watching these videos, keep leaving the feedback in the comments, and I promise you more and more videos will be coming soon. With those 5 screwed down, I'm just going to wipe that shield a little bit because it's just so dirty, this screen. With those secured and cleaned, we can move back down to the bottom area, reconnect the battery, and then this is a good point for you to test that your display works before you proceed with securing everything else back down into the phone. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to continue with the repair by placing the shield back down and the single tri-wing screw into place. Then we can just fold the screen closed, re-secure it at the top first, and then work your way back down, securing it into place on the chassis of the phone. Make sure that the screen sits nice and flush into the edges, and then reinstall the 2 pentalobe screws back into the bottom of the phone. That just about concludes this repair of an iPhone 12 mini screen replacement. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.